This report, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, about a month ago, the chair directed me to begin to look at and to analyze various annexation and or cityhood proposals that were being promoted in DeKalb County. One of the things we recognize that the cityhood proposals does not have any direct influence or impact on the DeKalb County School District as it relates to enrollment and or funding. But annexation presented some unique issues. So we began the process of looking at annexation first, and there will be other reports in subsequent months. But first, as it relates to student enrollment, student choice, and instruction, as well as the many various and varied tax implications as it relates to particularly to those residents who might live in any proposed annexation areas. And the proposed Druid Hills annexation plan is being developed, or was developed by a group known as Together in Atlanta. And it is made up of a group of DeKalb and City of Atlanta residents. According to media reports, Together in Atlanta spokespersons have argued, and supporters of this plan have argued very publicly, that the partial annexation of DeKalb County School District property that is located in the DeKalb Druid Hills cluster would also result in the forced transfer of DeKalb County School District property to Atlanta Public Schools. The proposed Druid Hills annexation plan, based on our analysis and projections, as is currently written, would result in the disenfranchisement and displacement of 2,922 students, and it would result in a district-wide loss of instructional opportunities, athletic programs, severe reductions in instructional staff, and funding potentials. I'm going to ask three members of my staff to provide additional insight, and of course we will answer questions, and I will provide some insight as we go. I want to call Dr. Beasley, Dr. Maurice Beasley, who will look at the impact of this proposed. And one of the things I want to emphasize to board members and or people present in the room, as well as those who might be watching this broadcast, that this is a proposed annexation. And so we were looking at it in terms of point in time, the impact of this proposed annexation on school choice, which I think will be considerable. Dr. Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman. Good evening, Dr. Johnson, members of the board. Mr. Thurman, if you would, in your packet, you have a slide on the impact of annexation on school choice. I would just like to remind the board that DeKalb County is a very school choice friendly school district. Of 100,000 students, we have over 20,000 students that have exercised the right of the option of going to a school outside of their assigned attendance zone. It is important to note that 20% of our students currently exercise school choice options. School choice is a key component to DeKalb's educational and instructional philosophy. School choice offers our parents the opportunity to select unique schools and programs that we believe and we can demonstrate enhance the academic needs of our students. The proposed Druid Hills annexation plan will disenfranchise and displace students who will no longer have access to DeKalb school choice options. If you will note on this slide, it identifies approximately 37 schools that have 1,626 students that reside in the proposed Druid Hills annexation area that will be disenfranchised and displaced. Therefore, they will no longer have access to DeKalb County school choice options. These students will reside, if the proposed annexation passes, these students will reside in the Atlanta Public School System attendance area, and therefore, currently, the schools that they attend, they will no longer have access to those schools. For example, and I'm just going to name a few schools. If you look at DeKalb School of the Arts, there are 30 students who would no longer have access to attend DeKalb School of the Arts. Coralwood, there are 22 students, and you should note that Coralwood has a population of about 200 students, so that's 10% of their population would no longer be allowed or have access because of this annexation to attend Coralwood Center. Kittredge Magnet has 15 students that reside in the proposed area that will no longer be allowed or have access to attend Kittredge Magnet because of this proposed annexation. You can see Chamblee Charter High School has 12 students currently that would be denied access to attend Chamblee Charter High School. Oak Grove Elementary, 6 students. Hawthorne Elementary, 4 students. Museum Charter School, 4 students. And the list goes on. As you can see, Allgood, 2 students. Arabia Mountain, 2 students. It is important to note that this proposed annexation has district-wide ramifications as it pertains to our students who currently, potentially, would no longer reside in the DeKalb County School District attendance zone and therefore would not have access to DeKalb County school choice options. Please note the slide that the proposed annexation will sever the Druid Hills cluster into 2 parts. You should notice on the diagram that there's a part outlined in red that identifies the attendance area that will now shift, that would shift if the proposed annexation passed, that would shift to the Atlanta public school system. Please note that that shift removes from our district, or would remove from our district, the Briar Vista Elementary School, the Druid Hills High School campus, and the Fernbank Elementary School. Please note that the students that will remain, that are left behind, attending Druid Hills Middle School, Laurel Ridge Elementary School, McClendon Elementary School, and Avondale Elementary School, they would no longer have a high school in their attendance zone. It is very important to note that the students left behind would, according to the proposed annexation, would no longer have a high school in their attendance zone.
Thank you, Dr. Beason. And I want to add, for those who might be viewing the broadcast, either live or tape, this document is available on our website and is downloadable as I speak. Is that correct? So you have access to it, and we will also make sure that it's shared, Ms. Mateen, with all of our PTA councils and presidents throughout the district. Matter of fact, it's already being shared, I understand. So this will be a publicly accessible document that I would hope that people would read and study. And now I would ask Dan Drake, Mr. Drake, who's a brilliant guy who does a lot of our analysis and planning, to look at the impact of proposed annexation on the schools and our other facilities that will be directly and indirectly impact as it relates specifically to student enrollment.
Okay. Members of the board, I will walk you through the impact of the proposed annexation on student enrollment and instruction. The biggest impact, this first slide, would be on the Druid Hills High School. Currently, there are 1,386 students in the historic 1,200-seat high school facility. The annexation would result in 311 current Druid Hills High School students to move with the high school facility to the Atlanta Public Schools and leave behind 1,075 disenfranchised students without a high school. The majority of these left behind students live in the attendance areas of Laurel Ridge Elementary, McClendon Elementary, and Avondale Elementary. And their demographics, as shown on the slide, are 58% black, 16% white, 13% Asian, 8% Hispanic, and 5% other. Additionally, the loss of the 311 students to APS would result in a loss of approximately 20 teacher positions at the high school. Approximately 45 teachers would also need to be reassigned to the schools where these 1,075 students would attend. The problem is at this point, we do not know where these students and teachers would be housed. This could mean adding portable classrooms at already overcrowded neighboring high schools. We're talking about Cross Keys, Clarkston, Lakeside, all these schools immediately around the towers, all of them at capacity or some of them substantially over capacity. Additionally, the annexation would result in the loss of the International Baccalaureate program, currently only being offered at 3 high schools. So one of the 3 high schools, the district would lose the IB program at the high school level. Finally, this would be the loss of the historic high school facility with a rich history, which the building was originally built in 1927, and more than $19 million in SPLOST improvements spent on the facility over the past 10 years. The next facility impacted and lost to APS with a forced transfer of title would be the Fernbank facility. Currently, 605 students attend Fernbank Elementary, 480 from the neighborhood, and 125 from outside the current attendance areas. The 480 students would go with the facility. Please note that this would be a brand new 900-seat facility that is slated to open this fall, the fall of 2015. The demographics of the 125 disenfranchised students hailing from all over the county are 58% black, 28% white, 5% Hispanic, 5% Asian, and 4% other. The loss of the 480 students would result in approximately a loss of 25 teacher positions and the loss, again, of another highly regarded IB program. And as we discussed earlier, the forced transfer would mean the $21 million brand new facility would be handed over to APS and a major loss to our district. The next facility would be Briar Vista Elementary, which currently has 450 currently enrolled students. Of those 458 students, 362 students would then be located in the APS attendance area and would move to APS with the facility. The other 96 students would be disenfranchised and forced back to their home schools. The demographics of the 96 students are 40% Hispanic, 38% black, 15% white, 6% other, and 1% Asian. As you may know, Briar Vista is one of only 2 Montessori schools in the district. The other is Huntley Hills Elementary. This annexation will result in the loss of the Montessori program, as well as approximately 20 teacher positions due to the loss of the 362 students. Finally, the district has invested $1.3 million in SPLOST funds for the Briar Vista facility, again, which would be lost to APS. Next impact is Druid Hills Middle School. This facility would not be transferred to APS, but the current student population of 903 students would be shrunk down by 250 students to only 653 students in a 1,200-seat facility, resulting in a very low occupancy of 54% and the capacity of 50% of the capacity. This would also result in the smallest middle school in the district. The demographics of the 250 students who would be disenfranchised and displaced from DeKalb County schools and sent to APS are 46% white, 25% Hispanic, 17% black, 8% Asian, and 4% other. This loss of 250 students would result in the loss of approximately 15 teachers. With the newly constituted smaller middle school, in addition to the loss of the 15 teaching positions, support positions such as counselors and assistant principals would need to be eliminated or heavily subsidized by the district to maintain the existing level of service currently enjoyed by the student body, just because we've gone down to below 700 students. The Fernbank Science Center, next slide, is located across the street from the Fernbank Elementary School and is a unique facility within the state of Georgia. The center has a functioning planetarium and science labs. 100,000 students would be denied access to the planetarium and the specialized expertise of the science staff. The proposed annexation and forced transfer of property would result in the loss of the highly regarded STT program and other specialized program. The loss of these programs would cause the loss of specialized staff, many of whom have PhDs. This highly educated staff is a great resource to the district and the backbone of the STEM training center located at the Fernbank Science Center that more than 48 schools are currently pursuing. In fact, DCSD has 4 out of only 11 state-recognized STEM schools within the state of Georgia. The cost to replace this unique facility, if desired by the board, would be in the tens of millions of dollars. Next slide, Laurel Heights. Laurel Heights is a youth residential treatment center located on Briarcliff Road, which has an agreement with the district for educating students who are being treated for complex psychiatric and behavioral problems and co-occurring developmental disabilities. 15 students will not have the benefit of familiar DeKalb support staff and, again, a loss of quality service providers. The impact of future funding to the district from this facility, from the loss of this facility, is not known at this time. The International Center, the National Center or the National Student Center, is located on North Druid Hills Road and within the proposed annexation area. With a forced transfer of title of property, we would need to relocate the 600 students to another facility. The facility currently serves 300 lab students. These are students who are new to the country, mainly refugees who've never been in school before, have a very highly specialized program. 300 of those lab students and 300 intensive English students. This move and possible upgrades to another facility could come at a cost. Next is Adams Stadium. Adams Stadium, also located in North Druid Hills Road, is in the proposed annexation area and is adjacent to their National Center. DCSD currently has 5 stadiums that serve the 18-plus high schools and the 18-plus middle schools. Losing one of the 5 stadiums and making do with only 4 facilities would trigger a loss in athletic activities. There are currently 135 varsity and junior varsity activities and middle school football games that are currently scheduled at Adams Stadium. Squeezing the 5 stadium schedules into 4 facilities would reduce the activities and would impact the lower level sports to a much greater degree, including junior varsity soccer, lacrosse, and middle school athletics. It would be a loss of venue for 30 community sponsor events, including the Relay for Life. Finally, $2 million is slated for the stadium, including major repairs and installing artificial turf at this facility. Also in the same area, immediately next to Adams Stadium, is the old Briarcliff High School. Together in Atlanta, the group proposing the annexation claims that an annexation would give APS the power to take title to the old Briarcliff High School, resulting in the loss of the old Briarcliff High School from the district, which is a long-term fixed asset upon which DCSD over the past years has received offers from interested parties in excess of $50 million for those 3 combined properties. This concludes our review of the proposed annexation's impact to student enrollment, school choice, and instruction.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. I'd like to call now on Dr. Michael Bell, who has done a significant and detailed analysis of the proposed annexation on the tax, ad valorem and or sales tax impact on citizens who might be included in the proposed area to be annexed. And I asked Dr. Bell, and he's worked very carefully to determine what, if any, tax advantages or disadvantages that might be associated with this proposed plan by Together in Atlanta.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, board members, guest student. I'm going to make some general comments about the impact of this annexation, this proposed annexation, on property taxes generally, sales taxes specifically, utility costs, and we're going to take a look at the end at 3 real tax bills of a $300,000, a $400,000, and a $500,000 fair market value house in the annexation area, and the specific impacts of the host tax credit program, which, as some of y'all probably know, was put in place by the county of DeKalb in 1997. Also, one of the big impacts, of course, is the difference in the senior taxpayer exemption in DeKalb County as compared to that which applies in the city of Atlanta. The senior taxpayer exemption in a homestead in DeKalb is much, much more generous than that which would be available in Atlanta. We'll look at specific numbers in that regard. The host tax credit on the homestead tax bill today, for a number of years now, over a decade, there's a column that says host credit. HOST stands for Homestead Option Sales Tax. Those credit dollars are only applied to DeKalb County operating expenses. So the services that would shift and come up under Atlanta, if the annexation is successful, those credits go to zero. Atlanta does not have the same program. Utility rates for sanitation and water sewer. The annual charge for sanitation pickup, 3 to 4 a week, in DeKalb County right now is $265. In the city of Atlanta, it's $500 plus for once a week plus yard waste. Another structural legal requirement would be that the bonded indebtedness millage, and we'll look at some tax bills, right now for DeKalb County bonded indebtedness, there's two categories. There's GO bonds and there's a special tax district for parks bonds, would remain on the tax bills in the annexed area by law, cannot come off. And Atlanta could elect to add its bonded indebtedness or some part of its bonded indebtedness on those very same tax bills. Let's see here, hang on. General property tax issues. The ad valorem property taxes for the DeKalb bonds right now is 1.68 mils. The host credit doesn't apply to bonded indebtedness, but that millage would remain at 1.68 mils on the annexed area's property tax bills. The city of Atlanta could add its additional millage if it's elected to do so. The homestead option sales tax, the host credit, is voted on every year. It's voted on when the county sets its millage rates. Right now, it's 57.7 cents for every operating dollar of taxation. I'm going to say that again. For every operating dollar of taxation charged by DeKalb County, the host credit alone is 57.7 cents. So that means when you write the check, you're only paying 42.3 cents for every dollar because host is setting off almost 60%. The host credit would not apply to Atlanta charged services, and the city of Atlanta does not have such a program. The host credit is calculated based on the fair market value of the house substantially, and as the greater the value of the house, the greater the host credit, therefore the greater the loss of the host credit on the tax bill. And we'll look at some specific tax bills, as I mentioned, as we get further into this. Using the 57.7 cents on the dollar as the voted on credit in DeKalb County for this year's host credit, when you look at you can look at your tax bill for 14, you'll see that there's a police district charge. The district millage charge in DeKalb right now is 6.18 mils. Okay. However, with the 57.7% of that millage credited off in the host column, the effective millage rate charge for DeKalb County Police on homestead exempt property is 2.61 mils. Same for fire. The present millage charge for fire on the 14 tax bills is 2.87 mils. But if you credit off 57.7, and the tax bill does that, we'll look at it, the effective millage rate for the fire district is 1.21 mils. That would not apply after the annexation. Public works and parks are collectively considered on the DeKalb tax bill. Right now, that charge is 1.46 mils. Take off 57.7% of that, and the effective millage rate that you write the checks for is 0.61 mils. Sales taxes. Sales taxes are county-level taxes in Georgia and are very complex as they've evolved over the years. Right now, in unincorporated DeKalb County, the total sales tax that we pay on sales tax applicable items comes to 7%. That's a base of 4% to the state, 1% for water, 1% for the E-SPLOS, be that either the APS in Atlanta, DeKalb, or the E-SPLOS for the school district, and 1% for host. The host tax credit I've been talking about comes from the levy of a 1% sales tax on host taxable items throughout the county, okay? The present level of sales taxation for Atlanta DeKalb, okay, is 8%. It's more. Even though the loss is not charged there, you have a base of 4% for the state, you have 1% for water, you have the 1% E-SPLOS, either the APS or the DeKalb board. The host tax is levied in DeKalb County, so it'll continue to be, it's levied in Atlanta, DeKalb right now. But Atlanta, a number of years ago, and it's been renewed a couple of times, got permission from the state to levy a MOST, a municipal option sales tax. That 1% is used to subsidize Atlanta's water sewer system. It's called watershed now, okay? That the city, by definition, has to levy the most in the incorporated limits of the city of Atlanta. With the annexation, Druid Hills would fall in the incorporated limits of the city of Atlanta. So unless there's some amendment to the law, Atlanta would be compelled to levy an additional 1 penny in the Druid Hills area. And at the bottom of page 20 is a legend that defines E-SPLOS, host, MOST, and water sewer. Okay. Another service issue, besides the fact of the very high cost of Atlanta water sewer, is the fact that in sanitation, the sanitation rates in Atlanta right now are $500 plus for once a week pickup plus yard waste, okay? There's a structural difference between Atlanta and DeKalb. I think they're the two largest public sanitation systems left, but DeKalb has the Seminole landfill. The Seminole landfill has about 30-plus years of life left on it. All of Atlanta's landfills are full, and tipping fees have to be paid to remove the garbage. DeKalb doesn't have that burden. Let's talk about the senior citizens issue. In DeKalb County, a senior citizen, 70 years of age or older, that has a household income of $82,708 or less, okay? And the reason it's such a discrete number is because it's rolled up over the years based on cost of living indexes, okay? Does not pay any part of the 23.98 mills that the school district right now charges. That's under the DeKalb H9 exemption. The tax commissioner's office ran a pro forma calculation on a, I want to say, a $500,000 house and put that house in Druid Hills under Atlanta, okay? The tax bill with the DeKalb County exemption totaled $1,905.63, and we'll see that figure later on in the tax bill structure, okay? When you apply the Atlanta APS exemption, which is called the AF6 exemption, that tax bill would go up $4,010.01. That's a 210% increase on the tax bill just because the senior exemption is so much less generous under the APS than it is under the DeKalb system. Okay, now this is going to be challenging to your vision, but this is the structure of a tax bill on a $300,000 homestead property now, you know, doesn't apply to rental property, doesn't apply to commercial property, okay? The line items across the page, two of them would probably remain. The county operations millage rate, okay, of 8.22 mils, and the hospital under that is the Grady Hospital subsidy, okay? The host credit, which their particular column is the third from the right, those credits would remain if county operations continue to be provided by DeKalb County. But under that, starting with fire, police, public works, and parks, those host credit amounts on this bill is in the little box that we've structured on the tax bill, the $182, the $392, and the $92.67. Those three credits go away. They just go away completely, and that would be in addition to the bottom line of the tax bill of $667. If you take the $667 and you add it to the tax bill we're looking at of $1,110.33, that would take the total tax bill to $1,777, or a 60% increase just because of the operation of the host credit, okay, going away on the non-DeKalb County provided services. Additionally, in the second column from the right, you see county bonds and parks bonds. Legally, the County of DeKalb general obligation bonds and the special district bonds for parks, which were passed a number of years ago, remain on the tax bill until they are amortized or they are paid off, okay? And Atlanta would have the option of adding some of its indebtedness to the tax bill. The next slide is the same operation, but it's on a $400,000 homestead, okay? It shows you can see county operations and hospital. If they stay in that fashion, you'd still get the host credit, but if fire is taken over by Atlanta, if police is taken over by Atlanta, if public works is taken over by Atlanta, and the parks operation is taken over by Atlanta, then you would lose a $248, a $534, and a $126 host credit, which reduces this tax bill. Those components total $909, and so if a tax bill increased from $1,507, the 909 would be a plus 60% increase in the tax bill to a total of $2,417. And then on the $500,000 house, you'd have a similar operation, okay? And you can see in the bottom right that familiar number of the 1905-63. And we saw that when we talked about the senior citizens exemption going away substantially, okay? In this particular case, the loss of the host credit would be a loss of $314, $677, $160, or a total amount of $1,152 added to the 1905 would bring this tax bill from 1905 to $3,057.84. And in this particular case, this increase does not relate at all to the senior citizen exemption. If this particular house was in the annexed area and Atlanta took over these services and these folks were senior citizens that did qualify for the DeKalb exemption, then you'd add another $4,000 to the tax bill. Okay. So that's sort of the general outline of the operation of property taxes, ad valorem property taxes, what could happen to some utility charges, and what does happen to the host tax credit. Since 1999, the host has actually been used to forgive about $1.3 billion in property taxes in DeKalb County since it was instituted.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. This concludes the superintendent's report. Mr. Chair, subject to questions from the board.
Questions or discussions? Mr. Mayfield? Mr. Mayfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Superintendent, this was quite a sobering presentation, to be quite honest. And looking at the implications of this, I guess, because of its strategic significance and its tax implications and the exposure of public assets, I guess my first concern would be whether or not there is direct board involvement in trying to get our arms around this problem, or this challenge, I'll say. So that's the statement that I would make, that I think that would be appropriate. The three questions that I have, though, are quite straightforward and simple. And first, have we met with TIA representatives to discuss this issue and any prospective alternatives that they might see to school transfer?
No.
Okay. And okay. I guess my request would be, or proposal would be that that perhaps for the purpose of constructive and perhaps even instructive engagement would be to at least have a subcommittee of the board at a minimum to have this conversation with TIA to better understand what their options are as they see it with respect to the disposition rather of these schools. The third point I guess that I would like to make is, or request, is to understand how the district might adjust in the eventuality of such a decision on the part of that community. How might the district adjust to the challenges that were presented here tonight? And recognizing that we don't have time to answer those questions tonight, I'm proposing that at some point that we have a conversation about those 3 points.
No further questions or comment. I want to thank the superintendent for a very comprehensive report. In regards to the comment from Mr. Mayfield, it brings to us some attention, and naturally this is a comment and a remark to the superintendent for future budget considerations that, and of course you would have to bring that back to the board, but it would be incumbent upon the school system to consider reserving the appropriate funds necessary to litigate if necessary, because I think it's incumbent upon the board to do whatever is necessary to protect the interests of our students, our 100,000 students, and property. So it's incumbent upon us to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In discussion with Dr. Bell, at the next board meeting, I would like to bring forward a proposal that we reserve out of the fund balance at least $2.5 million to hire and access government affairs and legal expertise to protect the interests of our 100,000 students and DeKalb County taxpayers, and to continue to prepare for whatever comes, and that we exhaust all options to protect the integrity and the value and the work and the efforts that have gone into building what I think is one of the finest school districts of becoming one in this country. And at this point, I would hope that the board at this point would not retreat in any way from our position of protecting what is naturally ours.